All right, 132, folks. Here's the issue. In Unit 2, in Chapter 18, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of change. We finished that Civil War. We have gone into Jim Crow. We've gone into the New South. There's some things happening here. And what's happening is it's going to be what we call the Gilded Age, all right? And the Gilded Age is important because we look at a shift to an industrial society. And this is what happens. Take your brain and rewind it a few semesters to the Enlightenment. Go back to Adam Smith and his book, The Wealth of Nations, and he talks about what creates wealth in a nation and the best way to do that. He talks about an economic system. He talks about a market economy, and this is really part of the birth of a market economy for us. He says, listen, in the market economy, there's a set of natural laws, and the natural laws are such that there's what we call the invisible hand of the economy, and the invisible hand of the economy is all about supply and demand. It's all about the price point, and that we will pay more for something that's more in demand, especially when there's a shortage for it. So real quick, right now, you're experiencing the laws of supply and demand. If you have gone out to try a hamburger, to try and buy a hamburger, if you tried to buy a hamburger right now, you're paying $5-6 or more a pound, where, gosh, 6 months ago, you might have been paying a couple of bucks a pound. Right now, you're paying $2.50 for a gallon of gas, and yet 6 months ago, you were paying $4 for a gallon of gas or $3 for a gallon of gas. The supply is different, and the demand has stayed very much the same. And because it's in short supply, it's pushing up that price point, and that price point is what's important. So what he's saying is this supply and demand, this what we call laissez-faire economics, is hugely important, and we're going to see the implementation of these principles and one of his other principles. And his other principle is going to be about the division of labor. He says, listen, anybody, any area can make anything, but should they? Okay, can any country make anything? Yes. Should they? No, because they have the resources, they have the materials to create certain things at a better cost. If they can create a better supply at a lower cost, they can sell them for a better price and therefore make more profit, because he's all about capitalism. And so this is the implementation of capitalism in this system. And once we get through the war, we don't shut down businesses, we keep on producing, and so we get into this buyer's market, this market economy, and it's going to come to roost. True capitalism comes to roost right here with this market economy. And so there's huge changes. When you start feeding this market economy with the constant invention of new things, because we've already looked at this age of reason. Now we're looking at the age of scientific revolution at this particular point. Ignore the clock going off the background, folks. What we're looking at the age of invention, at the age of innovation, this scientific age where now we're creating better quality iron, we're creating cheaper, better quality steel, we're inventing the telegraph and the telephone soon, we're inventing the elevator. All this stuff changes how we build, where we build, what direction we build. And so we're looking at the advent of taller cities. We're looking at the beginnings of skyscrapers. And what we're looking at it is more industrialization. This more industrialization, this more manufacturing is going to require a ready labor market. And this ready labor market, well, because there's a push westward, folks, there's going to be a shortage of labor. Could they hire the freedmen? Sure, they could and solve the problem, but they decide not to. They decide to appeal to other areas. They're going to appeal to Ireland. You know, Ireland is having a potato blight. Ireland is undergoing a famine, and they're going to invite those people, hey, come out here to us and we'll put you to work. Some interesting things are happening. One of those things that's happening is we're looking at the advent of the spoil system in politics. You look at city bosses, you look at county bosses, you look at state election or state political societies, and you look at what's called the spoil system. Listen, if I can get these people elected, they can do me political favors. And if they can do me political favors, they might put my people in office. They put my people in office. Therefore, I can get things to accomplish that are going to benefit me and my kind. It's a legal system, folks, and we still utilize it today. Look at how many of the president's former business people are currently in office. Look at every past president, and look at how often some of those offices change hand as reward for some kind of help in the election. And so what we're looking at is we're going to look at an increase in electioneering, an increase in party politics, what's called political machine politics, because we have the spoil system. With that spoil system, with the increased amount of manufacturing, we're going to look at an increase in immigration. There's two types of immigration. There's immigration coming from Europe, and there's immigration coming from Asia. We're going to see a backlash against Asian immigration, an uptick in the European immigration, because Europeans are more acceptable, more alike the people that are here as the folks who are coming from Asia, who have different customs, different beliefs, different religions along that line. And so we're going to see what becomes the Chinese Exclusion Act, but also there's going to be a certain amount of immigration backlash even against the Irish, even against the Europeans. So there's a lot of shifting going on at this particular point. Another huge thing that comes up with this, and I'm going to step on some toes because I'm going to talk about Charles Darwin and the origin of the species. Folks, I believe in evolution. I think evolution is huge. I think evolution is important. I think evolution and what's the other one? Oh, yeah, creationism. I think they're not mutually exclusive. I believe in a creator. I believe I was created. Do I believe that this is what all of the human beings look like? Oh, no, thankfully, no. Okay, you can look at my father and you can see a lot of me genetically in him, just like you can see me in my children, but we have changed over time. How do I know this? Well, look at my kids. If you ever met them, my kids are 6'4". If you could see me in living color, you would see I am no more than 5'11" on a good day. So where do you get 6'4"? Well, they get it from the grandpa on my father's side, or great grandpa, pardon me. They get it from the great grandma on my mother's side, because both of them were 6'4". I am 6 foot not anything. And so I think we change over time to suit the standards. We have a tendency to repeat the things that are beneficial, and so we change. That's really what Darwin is talking about. But why we start talking about Darwin here is that somebody is going to take his idea of evolution of the species, his ideas, and apply it to what we call social Darwinism. Folks, when you say social Darwinism, you should spit, right? Social Darwinism, because it's garbage. The idea that the best people, the people that are intended to be the best people, the people that are the best species, therefore come to the top and therefore are social elites, is, how do I phrase this nicely? Well, if I was in class, I'd say horseshit, so I'll say horseshit now. The idea, the principle of social Darwinism doesn't work, but it's going to be how they justify that there is indeed a white American elite versus a colored subclass, an immigrant subclass along this particular point. And what is important about this is we start to become aware. We see the birth of what is going to be what's called a populist movement, and the idea being as industry grows, as cities grow, that living conditions become worse, that labor conditions become worse, that what we phrase as the Gilded Age looks bright and shining on the outside is actually moldy and decrepit and worthless on the inside, that there is indeed fabulous wealth as in Vanderbilt, and there's incredible amounts of poor as in slums. And so we start to look at, to address this point, and we see a movement, a social movement of reform at this particular point. And that's why I wanted to bring that up, because we see what becomes a middle class. And this middle class is going to be aware, gosh, this is where I came from, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm at. Oh, yeah, they at least have enough of a sense of guilt to want to do something to create change, to help those lower classes over here, not to be equal, but not to be so far down. All right, I will let you go ahead and finish your reading, because I could go on about this for hours, but nobody wants that, including me. All right, I will see you in the next unit. Thanks.